Hey everyone, and welcome to another one of our videos. Today I'm going to be doing an oil change on the 2011 F-150 Raptor, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different oil change from the other videos that you see on YouTube, in that I'm going to be using an oil extractor. So coming from the German car world and Japanese car world, I'm really commonly using that extractor to change oil as opposed to dropping a drain plug out. On a truck it's a lot easier to get underneath and drop the drain plug, but on the car side of things, you can do everything from the top side on a lot of vehicles by using an extractor. Going to be trying that on the truck, see how it goes. Haven't seen anybody else do that, so I wanted to make a video showing that method. To start off, we're going to be doing about 7 quarts of mobile 5W20 oil. I bought 2 5-quart jugs, so I'll have a little bit left over. And then genuine Ford Motorcraft FL820S oil filter. So that should be what will work for any of the 6.2 liter Raptors, 2010 through 2014. So I'm going to go ahead, hop over to the truck, show you the prep that we're going to do and the insertion of the oil extractor. Going to start pulling the oil out, and then we'll go on to the filter change and everything else. So we'll flip on over to the truck and I'll see you there. So I apologize for the dirty engine bay. I just got this truck about a month ago and haven't had a chance to clean the engine bay yet. And I also apologize for any shaky camera work. My tripod doesn't reach into the engine bay, and it looks like I'm going to need to get a taller one. So doing the oil change should be super easy. We've got the oil cap here, which I always like to take off, just lefty-loosey and pull it off. Doing the oil extraction, you got to have air able to come in somewhere. That's the place for it to come in. And then right over here, we have the oil dipstick. I'm going to pull that out off camera since I don't have both hands. One's using the camera right now. But basically what we're going to do is pull the dipstick out and stick the oil extractor tube down the dipstick tube and pull the oil out through there. So we'll see how it works out on this thing. If worst comes to worst, I'll do an oil change the normal old-fashioned way, dropping the drain plug out, but I wanted to see how this method would work on this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and see what happens. Alrighty, so fluid extraction worked. Like I mentioned, I took the tube for the extractor, stuck it on the dipstick tube. Had to make sure that I used the longest one that I had, which is a few feet long, in order to reach down to the oil pan, because there is a pretty long run from the tube down to the pan. But you can see the oil extractor that I used sitting in front of the truck right there. I'll put a link in the description to where you can find something like that or similar if you're interested in one. Otherwise, if you're changing the oil, by all means go take a look at some of the other 6.2 oil change videos and see how to pull out the drain plug and do it the normal old-fashioned way. I just wanted to try this out this time, shoot a video on it so people know that it is possible and that you can do it. I got about 6.5 quarts out. Generally, extraction will leave a little bit of oil behind because you're not draining every little bit out. I don't know if I left half a quart behind or if it was just about half a quart low. I wouldn't be surprised about either, and I'm not too worried about either. This truck was serviced at a dealership, and from what I understand, that dealership has a little bit of a reputation for underfilling the oil by a smidge because of the way that they kind of menu item their oil changes. So I'm guessing it was probably just a little bit low, and probably there's a little bit left. So either or, we're going to go ahead and fill up the truck until we have the full level on the dipstick after we change out the oil filter as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the oil filter change procedure, and then we'll move on to filling the oil and we'll be done. Alrighty, so you can see the oil filter right here. I'm looking in from the driver's side of the truck, and my configuration is probably going to look a little bit different from yours because I have an aftermarket front bumper on the truck and everything. But the big white thing you see, oil filter, and you can see the red handle right there is a strap wrench. I have that around the filter, and it's ready to take off. Made sure it would crack loose, and it will, so we're going to be all good there. Basically, you just need to take that lefty-loosey. Now, if you're worried about spills, you don't need to worry so much about that because right here is kind of a little drip funnel that Ford conveniently provides. So whenever the oil filter comes off, the oil will run down there and drip out at the end of that. Just make sure you have a drip pan on the ground, which I need to throw down on the ground before I crack that loose. But that's all as far as the oil filter removal goes. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that off and then take you back to the table to show you the quick prep for the new oil filter, and then we'll throw that on and finish up the oil change. Alright, so I got the old oil filter out. It was a little bit of a mess, my own fault. I kind of tipped the oil filter, thought I had it held straight up and I didn't, so it poured a little bit of oil in my skid plate and stuff. Again, aftermarket front bumper, so it was a pain to clean up, but hopefully you don't have that problem. And that was my own ignorance in doing the oil change here for the first time. So I did get another about half quart out of the oil filter housing, so I did get very close to the full 7 quarts out of the vehicle. That is actually a really good sign. I think that the extraction was definitely more effective than I thought initially. because it seems that I got all of the full fill of oil out. So you can see I caught all of that in a little container here. Actually, something small like that works really well as opposed to a drain pan, because if you put a drain pan on the floor, it'll pour oil out of that spout, but then it'll splatter all over the place. So I'm kind of used to doing this on other vehicles, and it worked well on this one too. Oil filter prep is really simple. All I do is take a little dab of the old oil or the new oil, doesn't matter which one, and smear it on the gasket right there like so. So now that that is done, this thing will be ready to go on the truck. Installation is the reverse of removal. You just tighten it up, snug it up by hand. Generally I give it just a little tiny bit more with the wrench, strap wrench, whatever it is, and we should be good to go. At that point we should be ready to fill. So, gonna go ahead and throw the new filter on, and we'll come back to filling the truck up and first start. Alright, I have the oil fill setup going on. This is how I fill the oil in all of my vehicles. I basically use this oil filler funnel, which really nicely seals and adapts to whatever oil cap design you have. Toyota, Ford, GM, Mercedes, whatever it is. There's adapters like that. In the case of this engine, because it's at such a V angle, I have to use the little 45-degree adapter, and then I have the oil funnel on top, nice and level. So, filling up the oil. I poured 5 quarts in already. I'm going to pour in about another quart, put the oil cap on, dipstick in, start it up, let everything fill up in the engine, and then we'll go ahead and see where we're at as far as oil level goes and top it up. So, be right back. I have about 6 quarts and change in the truck. Oil registers on the dipstick. Actually is completely full, but the oil filter is not filled up, so that's why. I'm going to go ahead and start it. I wanted to show you this just so you can see what to watch for. Basically, we're watching the oil gauge right there to make sure that we have oil pressure build up after a couple seconds of the engine being on. If you don't, something's wrong. Probably want to turn it off. But we'll see here in a second, and you'll see how it's supposed to look. So ignition's on, and then we start. And you see the pressure build. So it has to fill up the oil filter and fill up the oil system, which is why everything has to take a little bit of a second to build up oil pressure, but that's what you're looking for right there. You done that, you know their oil system's working properly and that you didn't do anything horrendously wrong. So, I'm going to go ahead, let it run for just a second, maybe a minute or so, let the oil circulate, and then I'm going to go ahead and go back into the engine bay and check the oil level and top it up as I need to. Like I said, I'm about, if I had to guess, 6.2, 6.3 quarts. I'm going to need to add a little bit more and make sure that I have my dipstick at the full level. So I'll go ahead and do that and wrap up the video. The oil change is done now. Everything is put back together. You can see with the dipstick back in, topped up, measure's full, we're all good. One thing I want to mention before we part is with the oil cap. I highly recommend that every once in a while you clean it off. There was a bunch of burnt oil, dirt stuff collected on this cap, on the O-ring and the little grooves and everything. You clean that off every once in a while, and it makes the oil cap really easy to go on, just like butter. Let's see, put the cap on, turns into place. This thing was a little bit of a pain to get off. Final little parting advice right there. With that, I want to thank you all for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comment section below, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.